This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
So that's it. It is over. The long national nightmare, the Joe Biden regime is on its way out the door. Last night, Joe Biden gave his farewell address. He sat on a pillow in the Oval Office, stared into the screen, and did what he's been doing for 4 years, stumbling, slurring, and lying. That is Joe Biden. That is the legacy of our 46th president. We will look back on this era in shame. We will look back at him as the worst president in modern history, perhaps the worst president in history. There's no sugarcoating, there's no spinning, there's no pretending there was some redeeming quality to this pathetic, empty husk of a man, to this crook, to this thief, to this liar. It is just a dark stain on American history. There's a dark stain in the Oval Office, and it's up to the Trump team, the transition team, to get in there and clean up this mess. This was exactly how we expected him to go out. He has no dignity. He has no shame. He has no integrity. He has no honesty. He has no authenticity. He ascended to the White House under dubious circumstances, purporting to be a moderate. Yes, good old Joe. That's why they picked him, because they wanted to fool the American people and think that guy, the folksy old Joe, Scranton Joe, Amtrak Joe, he was going to be a moderate. He was going to work across the aisle. You could trust him. He's not like the others. Well, that, like everything else that we've seen from Joe Biden, was a flat out lie. He, from the day he got in there, the day he took office, he opened the border. The day he took office, he ordered his administration to begin the largest censorship regime in American history. On day one, he started pressuring social media companies to censor, to suppress speech, to ban American citizens from speaking freely on social media platforms. And there's another thing we should recognize him for: just the unmitigated gall, the brazenness of this crook, this liar, in his final speech, to warn against the lies, the misinformation, the disinformation. That's what his administration was built on: lies and disinformation and censorship. Complaining, whining to the country about how social media platforms are no longer going to censor Americans. Let's be honest here. They did this knowing they were violating the First Amendment, knowing it was flat out un-American. Day one, they ordered social media companies to stop Robert Kennedy Jr. and many others from speaking, from telling the truth. That's what misinformation is to this guy. Tell the truth about him, and he wanted you banned. He wanted you stopped. Hell, in some cases, he wanted you jailed. I can't even begin to talk about the scandals, the lies from this guy. I made a list, and I ran out of space. I mean, it's just, here's the legacy of Joe Biden. He said this. We'll get to it. He said it. He said, today in America, the truth is being smothered by lies for profit and power. That, to me, is the Biden legacy right there. He said it, and that is what we saw for 4 years. The truth was smothered by lies for power and profit. And I got a question, and I don't have an answer. I mean, let's face it. We generally try to look at it, look for some balance. What's the good? We certainly know the bad. He's a liar. He's a crook. He's corrupt. He has done his best to destroy the country. He deliberately opened the border, which is treasonous. He deliberately spent money we didn't have, driving up inflation. He deliberately didn't prosecute crimes, or his people We have crime, inflation, the border, foreign wars. There's no good. There's nothing good that you could say about him. We just buried Jimmy Carter, another terrible president. But there was some balance when we said goodbye to Jimmy Carter. He, at post-presidency, he built houses for the poor. You know, you could say he tried. You could say he didn't take bribes. He didn't sell the office of the presidency to hostile foreign powers. You could say there was some good. Again, terrible president. His personal life, you know, he was married to the same woman 77 years. I don't think he was known for sniffing kids or showering with his daughter. I don't think. I'm not a historian, but I don't think. There was some redeeming qualities to Jimmy Carter. I got a question. Anybody? Anyone on the chat line? Name one redeeming quality, redeeming feature about this man, about Joseph Robinette Biden. Name one thing you could say good about him. I mean, generally, when you talk about one of your political enemies, and they do this in debates, say something nice about him. That's what they do in these debates. And generally, you disagree politically on everything. Sometimes they'll say, well, he loves his family. I think that's what Hillary said when she was asked to say something good about Trump. He loves his family. He loves his kids and grandkids. You can't say that about Joe Biden. Joe Biden sent his crack-addled son around the world. His son even admitted it was not good for his sobriety when he was the bag man for the Biden influence peddling scheme. You're going to say he loved his family? He didn't acknowledge his youngest granddaughter. He didn't think, he pretended she didn't exist because her father was a crackhead and her mother was a former stripper. So that child didn't get a stocking at Christmas time. That child didn't get to visit the White House. In fact, the Biden family went to court to stop the child from using their name. This was his own grandchild. To me, that will always be the best example of the character of this man. He has a grandchild, cute, beautiful, Navy Roberts, and he went to court to stop her from calling herself a Biden. You know, a Biden, like he says, I give you my word as a Biden. That could be the most laughable statement he's ever made. But the lies, and you could look back and say, yeah, he lied about whatever. Inflation. He said, to this day, he says inflation was 9% when he took office. Like we can't check, like we can't look that up. He doesn't care. It's 50 years of being protected by the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. He reached the point where he had no hesitation. He had no moral compass. His instinct is to lie about meaningless things, about small things and large. Everything in his soul told him that he could get away with lying about everything. A quick rundown, just off the top of my head before we started recording. My favorite will always be that he went to visit Nelson Mandela on Robben Island and got arrested trying to visit Nelson Mandela. Just completely made up. And he didn't care about fact checkers. He didn't care about the truth. When the fires burned in Maui and he went to visit, he told them he could relate because he had a fire. His house burned down. It was a little kitchen fire that was put out in 15 minutes. He said he ran rode Amtrak for 1 million miles and got an award. Made it up. Not true. He claimed he was a civil rights activist. No, he never was. He claimed he and his father saw two guys kissing in 1959, and they decided that day that love is love. That's just the way it was in 1959. Sure, Joe. He claimed his grandfather was a coal miner, claimed he played football in college, claimed he was going to go to the United States Naval Academy and play football, but Roger Staubach was in the way. Claimed he was the first person in his family to go to college. That's a lie, provable lie. He claimed over and over again that Beau Biden died in Iraq, that Beau Biden died in service to this country. Beau Biden died of a brain tumor 6 years after returning from Iraq. Beau Biden was 46. The people, the soldiers and Marines who died at Abbey Gate, they never got a chance to see 46. 5 of them were 20 years old. He didn't care. You name it. Big things. Lied about, closing the border. Lied about never speaking to Hunter or anybody in his family about their foreign business dealings. The list goes on and on. Oh, yes, good one from John. Uncle Bozy got eaten by cannibals. If that was the only lie ever told and he were a Republican, he would be mocked relentlessly to this day, lying about his uncle being eaten by cannibals. But that's who was elected or selected in 2020, a inveterate, pathological liar who just doesn't even know what it's like to tell the truth. And this guy, this clown, this fraud, this liar had the nerve to look at the American people last night and say, in his final address, he spoke for 16 minutes. He read a teleprompter and he struggled mightily reading the teleprompter from the Oval Office and said one of the things he warned us about. Well, that's kind of presidents in their farewell addresses, they often warn us about things like Eisenhower warned us about the military industrial complex. Reagan warned us about foreign threats, about the Soviet Union. What did this guy warn us about? Lies and misinformation on social media. Yes, this guy who said his uncle got eaten by cannibals is concerned about all the lies out there. Let's watch.
I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power.
Oh my God. He said that. He read that. He looked you in the eye and said that. The truth is being buried under an avalanche of lies. Oh God. Again, the fact checkers, they're not real fact checkers. They're left-wingers who were there to protect the powerful, to protect him. As Mark Zuckerberg explained a week ago, the Biden administration would call Facebook and yell at them, admonish them, tell them they had to do as they were told. And Zuckerberg claimed he pushed back, and then they started investigating his companies. That is the ultimate abuse of power. And this guy has the nerve to complain about abuse of power? Hopefully, historians, now most historians, the Michael Beschloffs of the world are left-wingers. Michael Beschloff wrote speeches for this guy and then went on TV and said how great the speech was. That's who historians are today. But I think most Americans will look back at this and say, how do we ever allow such a bad guy, such a reprobate to take office and occupy the office for 4 years? Again, I'm asking, let me check again for the on the chat line. Don't forget, he graduated at the top of his class. That's when the media used to do its job. He got called out for it. He had to admit he lied about graduating at the top of his class. He plagiarized, not just Neil Kinnock, the British guy, which caused him to pull out of the race in '88. He plagiarized Robert Kennedy. He plagiarized many times. He was a serial plagiarist, and he became president. What a shameful chapter in American history. This is even more galling, even more rich. Warning about an oligarchy that billionaires control the country. Billionaires, like George Soros, like Reid Hoffman, like Mark Zuckerberg 4 years ago when he gave him $420 million and helped him, probably got him elected. Those billionaires are now taking control of our country. Listen to this.
This is a dangerous concentration, and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. The dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. They were dealt into the deal and helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen.
The robber barons, the oligarchs, the billionaires. 2 weeks ago, he gave the Medal of Freedom, the highest honor a citizen could get, a private citizen, to George Soros, who's a billionaire bent on destroying our country. That's another thing. I mean, we are going to have trouble just focusing on one thing this guy did to destroy the country he was elected to lead. Opening the borders, obviously, that's bad. That's treason. But awarding the highest honor, the Medal of Freedom, to a man who spent his money destroying, dismantling, destabilizing the country, that was his biggest supporter. And now he's railing against oligarchs. Oligarchs like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, who used to be Democrats, but they were, they've now come around. You ran them out of your party. That's what you did, Joe Biden. That's not the only damage you did. We're going to find out in the next 4 days. He's got 4 days to do as much damage as he can do. And we will see how bad it gets. Oh, let's not forget the guy who's concerned about the avalanche of lies pardoned his son 2 months ago. Pardoned his son for tax evasion. The guy who says we got to pay our fair share. His son doesn't pay taxes. His son was going to trial. He pardoned him with a blanket pardon that covered 11 years after saying over and over again he wouldn't pardon his son, and he did. That's an avalanche of lies right there. That's the Joe Biden legacy. There is nothing. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but my mother used to say it. If you can't say something good about someone, don't say anything. Sorry, Mom, I can't do it. There is nothing good to say. There is no redeeming quality to this man. This will be remembered as 4 years of lies, of corruption, of scandal. Joe Biden himself has made a fortune from this influence peddling scheme. James Comer has a new book out. He said the family made at least $27 million and paid nothing in taxes, zero. Hopefully, that case will not just go away. Some of the other big lies before we move on. Big lies. How about the guy saying over and over again that white supremacy is the biggest threat to the homeland? He knew that was a lie. They knew it was a lie. America, they all knew it was a lie. We've seen it. There's no threat from white supremacy. It was a lie he told over and over again. How about climate change is the only existential threat to our country? He went back to that last night, blaming the fires in LA, which we all know what happened in LA, we've gone over it. Everybody knows it has nothing to do with climate change, but he continues to lie to the American people, to attempt to fool them, to think that, yes, climate change is the reason LA is burning to the ground. How about bragging and boasting about our alliances overseas? What the hell? Ukraine, bragging that he helped Ukraine, that he gave Ukraine $200 billion. One last thing, because he's going to do it to the end. He spent $180 billion forgiving the student loans of deadbeats, of people with graduate degrees, of doctors and lawyers and college professors. He took that from the working class, from people who did the right thing, who didn't go to college or went to a community college or commuted or took out loans and paid them back, took your money and gave it to people who didn't do the right thing. That is Joe Biden's legacy. And on top of that, all the other nonsense, all the DEI and gender nonsense and CRT and everything else, all the Rachel Levines and Sam Brintons. It is just a legacy of absolute abject disgrace, and can't come soon enough. 4 days, 12:01 Monday. We are done with this old crook. We are done with the lies, the cover-up saying he's tip-top, sharp as a tack. That guy we saw last night wanted to run for another 4 years. And the media, the Democrats told you, yes, he can do it. Joe Biden could run for 4. He can't. It's a miracle that he can last 4 more days. And they told you he could last 4 more years. They're the ones who destroyed trust in this system, in our federal government. We can never have another Joe Biden. We can never allow this to happen again. And hopefully we won't. Thank God we're not waiting for Kamala Harris to take office. Jeez. All right, did we get anybody? Anything good? Anything he's done? Anything? Pardons? He pardoned 1,500 people at commuted sentences, including murderers, rapists, guys who killed. He let 37 murderers off death row, guys who killed children. 37. He left 3 of them on death row because, he's got such a moral objection to the death penalty that some people deserve to die, but not all of them. That's the Joe Biden legacy: incoherence and corruption and lies. All right, speaking of corruption and lies, we got to get to the latest on the hearings, the confirmation hearings for Trump's nominees. They are doing great. They are kicking ass. It obviously started with Pete Hegseth, but Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio, these guys, what they're doing is exposing the Democrats because, God, if you've watched any of these hearings, it is embarrassing that these are the people Democrats chose to be on this committee to conduct these hearings and these questions. And the question everybody's asking, who deserves credit for the deal in Israel? I got another question. Why does anyone deserve credit? As far as I could tell, this deal sucks. I understand why they're doing it, but do we really want to take a victory lap, take a bow? Because Israel's going to swap 30 terrorists for every hostage? I mean, I'm looking forward as much as anyone to hostages coming home, but this is not a deal worth celebrating. We'll get to some of the details on that and more. And Bill Burr sucks. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Do you wake up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, or ringing in your ears from grinding and clenching your teeth at night? I've been through this. It's fairly common, and dentists charge $600 for a bruxism night guard. Many people are now discovering the Brux Night Guard. Unlike regular night guards that go all the way to the back of the teeth, Brux Night Guard only covers the front teeth. This unique design is what sets Brux Night Guard apart from all other guards. It only covers the front teeth, so the bite force is directed away from the back, where many people grind and clench to help reduce jaw pain and still protect the teeth. You mold it at home to the top and bottom teeth. And unlike other guards, it is made in America and uses 2 materials for added durability. Order a Brux night guard today and use the code MAX22 to get 10% off plus free shipping. Go to bruxnightguard.com and enter the code word MAX22. Well, I'm disappointed. Not one. We haven't got one person. Lots of people mentioning, his family and Hunter and the laptop and everything else. Nobody. Got even a suggestion that he did anything good. That is the question. What? Unless you're a liar and you're on, Joe Scarborough, who told us Joe Biden was tip-top, the best Joe Biden we've ever seen. That guy. Unless you're Joe Scarborough, you got nothing. There is nothing that we can look back and say, well, that was good. That was a good idea. That worked. And it all changes Monday. Looking forward to this. The confirmation hearings are going great. We talked a lot about Pete Hegseth. The leadoff hitter, Ricky Henderson, just wiped the floor with the Democrats on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio. These people are going to sail through. They're going to be confirmed and confirmed quick, as they should be. To me, the only surprise yesterday was Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's almost 60. Man, she takes good care of herself. And she went before the clowns in the Senate. She got grilled by Sheldon Whitehouse, just despicable character. Adam Schiff, the biggest liar in the Senate. And she pushed back and she handled it beautifully. And all they wanted to know is what you're going to do when Donald Trump weaponizes the Department of Justice. And she pushed back just the way she should. She said, that's been happening for 4 years. That's what your guy did. Made it clear that the weaponization ends Monday, ends with the Trump administration. I mean, I hope she does her job and looks into the crimes committed by Liz Cheney and Anthony Fauci and others. But all they wanted to know is, are you going to take orders from Trump when he goes after journalists? They're not sending their best. Democrats, I'm sorry, are not sending their best to the U.S. Senate. They're not picking their best to serve on these committees. And one of the real revelations for the country, I already knew this, but Mazie Hirono is a senator. She's 77 years old. She is as dumb as they come. And she was tasked with questioning, with grilling Trump's nominee for attorney general here. And listen, she gets 7 minutes, I believe. Listen to how she decided to use some of her time questioning Pam Bondi. Go ahead.
As part of my responsibility to ensure the fitness of all nominees, I asked the following 2 initial questions. First, since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
Ms. Bondi, I am focused on 2 things in my evaluation of President-elect Trump's nominees. The first is whether the nominee is qualified and experienced enough to do the job. The second is the fitness to serve, which includes putting loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to the president. Unfortunately, in my view, many of President-elect Trump's nominees are lacking in at least one of these 2 requirements. Ms. Bondi, your experience as a prosecutor is the kind of thing we would expect to see in a nominee for Attorney General, but I do have questions and concerns about potential conflicts of interest, about whether you will keep DOJ's law enforcement responsibilities independent of the president's political whims, and about whether you will let facts and evidence guide your decisions. So let's start with the importance of facts, which you say is important.
That's a U.S. senator asking Pam Bondi if she's ever, what'd she say, committed sexual assault or sexual harassment?
Yeah, or taken part in it.
Taken part in it. And then they go to the same line of questioning. Will you go after Trump's political enemies? They all voted for Merrick Garland, who did exactly that for 4 years. And Bondi did a great job of pointing out that they infiltrated Catholic churches, imprisoned pro-life activists imprisoned January 6th, peaceful protesters. We've seen for 4 years what a politicized, weaponized Department of Justice can do. And all she did over and over again is vow that's going to end. And I believe her. I mean, we can't have that. We can't have that. That's, again, Joe Biden's legacy, using the Department of Justice and the FBI and the CIA to go after his political enemies. It was just rich. And these Democrats, every one of them, was embarrassing. But they don't matter. They really don't matter. I mean, she's going to get Republican support. She's going to pass. She's going to be Attorney General. And she's got a lot of work to do, a lot of cleaning up to do. And I look forward to it. Marco Rubio is going to sail through too. That was just a formality. Marco Rubio's hearing, just a formality. He's going to get confirmed easily. All right, let's get to this Israel Hamas deal again. I look forward to, more than anything, seeing Kfir Bibas come home. They're going to release, I believe, 3 hostages Monday. He's going to be one of them. He was 9 months old when Hamas savages grabbed him alongside his mother, father, and 4-year-old brother. He was included on the list of 33 hostages that Hamas has agreed to release. 33 hostages, and we don't know how many are alive. They're going to return some dead bodies. And I'm not sure how that's a big victory. So they killed the hostage and they give back the corpse. And I guess that's better than not giving it back. But we're going to celebrate this again. There was this childish debate about who deserves credit. Obviously, the deal doesn't get done without Trump. Obviously. I mean, I know Trump likes to take credit for everything, and he should in this case. Biden went in front of the cameras yesterday with Blinken and Kamala, and he bragged, obviously, about getting this deal done. And his defense, his case was that it's the exact same deal that he offered in May. So he offered a deal 9 months ago, 8 months ago, and it was agreed to yesterday with 5 days left in his term. And he thinks that means he deserves credit. Well, what changed in the last 8 months? Well, Trump changed. The deal changed, and anybody, Netanyahu, the Times of Israel, they acknowledged that of course the deal was forced by Trump. Of course Trump made this deal happen because you had it on the table since May and it didn't get done. So one thing changed, the election, the president, Trump changed. So obviously, if you want to give credit, that Trump deserves the credit. Obviously, when you have hostages for 460 days, all of which was with Biden in office and Blinken, obviously they didn't get the deal done. You didn't get it done. You didn't get the hostages home until Trump came along. So if we're giving credit, then obviously Trump deserves credit. But why does anyone deserve credit? This deal sucks, and people don't want to admit it because they want to see the hostages return. And it's perhaps the only way to get hostages home. But they're giving up 30 terrorists for every hostage. If they get all the hostages home and the deal gets completed, they're going to free more than 1,000 terrorists. Some are murderers. So there are people in Israel right now, parents, whose children were murdered by these guys who they thought were going to spend life in prison. They're not. They're going to return to Gaza and fight for Hamas. Again, this shows better than anything the difference in the two sides. One side values life. One side wants to save civilians. One side wants to get their people home. The other side wants to get fighters, terrorists home. It's perhaps the best you can do, but I'm not sure it's worth celebrating. Like, yeah, they're going to free, if the deal gets completed, and it probably won't, they're going to free 1,000 terrorists. They're going to free 30 terrorists for every innocent civilian, baby, child, old lady that gets released by Hamas. And it's going to get worse. They're not going to honor the deal. It's going to get worse. And they're going to return a dead body in exchange. They get a live terrorist. They're going to return someone who's been living in a tunnel, starved, abused, raped, for someone who's been in Israel prison, being treated humanely and fed and given medical care. Don't forget Sinwar, their leader, who's since dead, was in an Israeli prison, treated for cancer. They saved his life, and they released him, and he went to work killing. He went to work organizing October 7th. Again, it's a tough spot. You're dealing with savages, animals, evil, evil people. So you try to get your people home. You do your best. You make the best deal you can. And I agree. It's going to be great to see some hostages freed. Will they ever be the same? Probably not. You want to talk to some, 20-year-old woman, Israeli woman, after being kept and held captive since October 7th? You want to talk to them about how things are going when they get home? It's going to be rough. What these people did, what these animals did, the stories are going to be really disturbing. And again, it's going to get good to get them home, but not the greatest trade I've ever seen. And this is the difference between civilized people and uncivilized savages. And they're celebrating in Gaza. They're celebrating the way they always do, shooting off guns and celebrating that they're going to get some of their fellow terrorists home. But Joe Biden was asked at the end of his press conference, God, he's just such a petty little man, such a child. Asked as he was leaving, who deserves credit? Here's his answer.
Thank you. Who deserves credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
Is that a joke? That's what he wants. That's all he wants. Credit. Just give me credit. I got a deal done. You got a bad deal done. We'll see how it works out. But any reasonable person knows that there's no deal done. If Kamala Harris wins on November 5th, there's no deal done. I will give credit to one of the Biden spokesman, his spokesman, Matt Miller, for the for the State Department. This was amazing. This is the end of an administration. This is how you know the rats are scurrying. This man decided, again, credit to him. He decided he's done lying for Joe Biden. He's going to tell the truth, and I'm sure he's looking for a job somewhere, and he's going to go on with his life, but he did salvage some dignity. He's been lying for Biden for 4 years, and on his way out the door, he said no more. He's going to tell the truth. Here's Matt Miller from the State Department. Go ahead.
The involvement of President-elect Trump's team has been absolutely critical in getting this deal over the line. And it's been critical because obviously, as I stand here today, this administration's term in office will expire in 5 days. And one of the things that we have always said about this deal is that when you get from stage 1 to stage 2, that the United States, Egypt, and Qatar are the guarantors of this deal. And Egypt and Qatar will push Hamas to stay at the bargaining table and to get from stage 1 to stage 2. And the United States will push Israel to stay at the bargaining table to get from phase 1 and phase 2.
There it is right there. The United States was going to push Israel. Joe Biden didn't push Israel. He stabbed them in the back. Joe Biden didn't get this done for 460 days. There are still 7 Americans. This blows my mind every time I think about it. 7 Americans held hostage by Muslim terrorists. And our president barely mentioned it for the last year and a half, barely mentioned it. And if Trump took office Monday and they hadn't released any hostages, we were going to take action. Was it going to work? I don't know, but there was a team ready to go in there, kill hostages, and attempt to free Americans, kill terrorists and attempt to free hostages. That's what was going to happen, and they knew it. And he put the pressure on Qatar and Egypt and anybody else. The terrorists, live in Qatar. They live there, and they put the pressure on them. Trump did, Trump team, and that's how we got action. That's how we got this deal. Whether it's a good deal or not, Trump made it happen, and everybody knows it. Joe Biden knows it. Trump tweets or Truth Socials a week ago. I mean, today, yesterday. We have a deal for the hostages in the Middle East. They will be released shortly. Thank you. That's 1 week after saying there would be hell to pay. And
If
they
those
knew it.
hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is.
And they believed it, and they knew it. That's the language they understand right there. And he's not concerned with the people of Dearborn or what Ilan Omar or Jajapal, Prajal, whatever her name is. He wasn't concerned with what they have to say. He got it done. Credit to Trump, and we will see. It will be a great day, a great sight to see hostages come home, including, I was going to say 1-year-old. No, he turned 2. Kefir Bibas, 9 months old when they grabbed him, when these animals grabbed a baby and held him for 466 days. It's much like 1980, 1981. There's a new sheriff in town, and he's already getting things done. All right, we got to get to Bill Burr. Nothing has bothered me since the beginning of these LA fires like this guy, who I can't believe I used to like. Bill Burr is a piece of garbage. We'll tell you about that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
Are you looking to cut costs and improve your business's bottom line? The best business operators have turned to Ramp to help them stop wasteful spending and improve their finance operations. Ramp is the corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money back in your pocket. With Ramp, spend policies are built into the card so you can prevent wasteful spending before it happens. You can customize spending limits and restrictions so employees are empowered to purchase what your business needs, and you have peace of mind. Ramp plays bad cop so you don't have to. Detecting policy violations, chasing missing documentation, requesting repayment, and locking down cards of non-compliant employees. Ramp helps you manage all your finance operations in one place. Card expenses, reimbursements, vendor payments, accounting automation, and a whole lot more. So you can see all your business spending in one place. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Jerry. Ramp.com/Jerry. That's RAMP.com/Jerry. Card issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Get $250 when you join Ramp. Go to ramp.com/Jerry. All right, first, the good news. Obviously, the fires are still raging in Los Angeles. Cadaver dogs are still looking for victims. It's bad. AccuWeather is not the good news. I'm going to get to the good news. AccuWeather estimates, here's their latest. As fires continue to rage across Southern California and the scope of the catastrophic damage, loss of life, and business disruptions become clearer, AccuWeather has updated and increased its preliminary estimate of total damage and economic loss at between 250 and 275 billion. That's more than the annual budget for California, our biggest state. That is just staggering. $275 billion in damage. And the governor, he's not sitting back. He's taken action. He's now said that he won't allow people to sell their property. So to get this straight here, they wouldn't allow you to protect your property. They wouldn't allow you to clear brush, to cut down trees, to fireproof your home. They didn't fill the reservoirs. They didn't have enough firefighters. They didn't show up when people called 911, and they allowed these homes to burn. And now if people are desperate and someone wants to buy their property, he won't allow you to sell it. God. California, this is just the ultimate in criminal negligence by Democrat politicians in a Democrat-run place. This is on them. but I wanted to get to the good news. Here's from the New York Post. A trove of nearly 200 artworks by Hunter Biden has been destroyed. One of the casualties of the wildfires ravaging Los Angeles. The controversial art had been in storage near the Pacific Palisades home of Hunter Biden's attorney, Kevin Morris, and is valued at millions of dollars. So 200 of Hunter Biden's doodles of his finger paintings were destroyed in the fire. Now the question is, did the blanket pardon he got from Dad, did that include insurance fraud? Because he's going to claim it was worth millions. Well, it was only worth millions while Joe Biden was president. You don't buy Hunter Biden's artwork for access to Joe Biden if Joe Biden is no longer president. So we will see how Hunter Biden deals with this loss, which he claims is worth millions. And some of it was with his own feces, by the way. Yes, he made paintings with his own feces. Such a talented artist. But again, quick rundown on they didn't clear the brush. They didn't fill the reservoirs. They didn't show up. They didn't have enough firefighters. They didn't have enough fire trucks. They let the city burn because the city, the area, the state is controlled by left-wing environmentalist wackos. That's the bottom line. That's what happened here. You can talk all you want about natural disasters. This was a man-made disaster. The more you read about it, the more you hear about it, the more you realize it could have been prevented. This was entirely preventable. They were warned these winds were coming. They were warned that homeless people were setting fires, that there was a chance. Half the calls that the LAFD gets is for homeless people setting fires. So they knew this was coming and they didn't do anything to stop it. They weren't prepared. They didn't call out the full Los Angeles Fire Department in response to the warnings from the National Weather Service. So it's obviously man-made. Obviously, they did not respond the way they should. They didn't perform the basic function of local government. Stop fires, put out fires, protect homes, protect people. They didn't do it. They dropped the ball, and now we have $275 billion in damages. So what does LA resident Bill Burr think of? First of all, he goes on with Jimmy Kimmel, who cried on air because people pointed out the failings of the local government and the fire department. And then next day he brings on Bill Burr, former comedian. And he's just an asshole. Can we just be honest? He's just a bad guy. He's just a bad guy. I guess his house was okay because he wouldn't say any of this if his house were destroyed. We've seen some, Hollywood celebrities whose houses were destroyed and they've been red-pilled and they're pissed off and they want to recall Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom. They want new leadership because they know local leaders let them down, let this happen. Not Bill Burr. He thinks they did a great job. Yeah, he does. Let's watch.
It's very good to see you. I heard you had to evacuate your home.
Yes. Like most people, I had to. I got lucky, the winds moved, but, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet,
Yeah, right. I know. It's right.
Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean? And then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds. You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic?
How are you?
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word we're hearing now.
Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
Oh my God. First of all, where's the funny part? Why is that funny? They're laughing. Secondly, yes, it was mismanaged, you dick. Obviously. God, he sucks. He mocks people for pointing out that, again, the reservoir was empty. There were no fire trucks when they called 911. They didn't clear the brush. They didn't have controlled burns. They didn't prepare to fight these fires when they knew they were coming. It happens every year, Bill. You live there. You know that. You know they weren't ready. You know your mayor was in Ghana. You know that this wasn't handled properly, and yet you mocked people whose homes were destroyed. Imagine sitting in some Motel 6 because your house was destroyed, and maybe you don't have enough cable channels, so you watch these two clowns, and they're mocking you for pointing out that local officials let this happen. He has just lost his way. I'm telling you, I can't even look at him anymore. I used to think he was good. He sucks. Here he is in the same interview, praising Luigi Mangione, a murderer, a little child of privilege, a little rich punk who decided to shoot an innocent man on the streets of New York because, he didn't like the health insurance industry. Bill Burr thinks that's wonderful. Thinks, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom and Kristen Crowley and the rest of the people who mismanaged the fires, they're innocent. They're cool. They're doing, as he said, a great job. But Brian Thompson, who was murdered, shot in the back, got what was coming to him. Listen to this dick.
I love how all the chatter out there is about bands of illegal immigrants and homeless people lighting fires. They light fires every day. They're living outside. Cold. And this theory that some homeless guy without a car went from Altadena all the way to the Pacific Palisades, and then we have a hang glider. And they're talking about looting, but CNN and Fox News are not going to bring up the insurance companies that are just going to keep everybody's premiums and still give themselves a bonus. Yeah. Yes. Free Luigi. I love how they acted surprised. Why did that happen? I have no idea. He wrote on the bullets why it happened.
Oh, we're back to Luigi. Okay, yeah.
I never left Luigi.
Okay, well, why is that? First of all, why is that funny? Secondly, nobody said a homeless guy drove. There are arsonists. They're arresting arsonists and looters in his neighborhood. And he's mocking people on the internet. And he's praising Mangione. The reason insurance companies left is because your public officials, your elected officials, wouldn't let them raise premiums despite the danger. So they bailed. They left, as we know. That, again, was a failure of local government, of state government, of elected Democrats. And this a-hole is mocking, laughing. While the fires are still burning, he's mocking people who are pointing out why. I love this from him and others. You see it on MSNBC. They want you to blame climate change, but not the fact that they wouldn't clear the brush because crazy left-wing environmental groups fought them. They're mocking. They're claiming it's climate change when we see the empty reservoir, when we hear from firefighters who say we just didn't have enough people to fight the fires. And they want you to think it's climate change. God, these people are repulsive. You are repulsive. Bill Burr, you suck. I am done with this guy. I'm embarrassed to say I used to think he was funny. I don't even see the funny part. Where's the funny part? Does he just not prepare?
Well, that's the problem. Is I don't think he was trying to be.
What happened to him? Honest to God, everyone online blames his wife because she hates Trump. But
yeah, there was that picture of her flipping him off.
Right. I mean, didn't he used to be funny?
Hilarious.
Did you find that funny, Ironhead? Any of that? Anything you just heard?
No.
Any of that funny? No. Laughing. And he's laughing when the fires are still burning, when they're still looking for bodies. God, what a dick. Anyway, we'll live there. We're done. We're done with Bill Burr. We're done with Joe Biden. We're moving on. 4 days and 49 minutes, and we are done with this criminal regime in the White House. Cannot wait. I'm getting excited already. It's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a great Monday. It's going to be a golden era in this country. I believe it. I'm in on the golden era coming soon. But that will do it for today. Thanks to everyone for listening and watching. We appreciate it. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Thank
Is she
you.
crazy?
Thank you. Thank you
Wow.
all. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Oh, too many thank yous.